Hello, AP Research teachers. I have a friend who is now retired as a teacher, but she was fond of saying that we could be successful in having all of our students hit the bullseye in learning if we simply would share for them what the target is, show them the bullseye. So I believe this makes it imperative upon us, the teachers, to become very familiar with the way that our students' work will be scored. So that begins with the College Board's academic paper scoring guidelines, which I'm sure all of you saw in your training at your summer institute, and it looks kind of like this. This is a holistic scoring rubric, so people who score the paper kind of train to see not just like the individual cells of what makes for a 1 or a 2 or a 5, but is there kind of overwhelming evidence in one scoring category that defines the paper that the AP reader is scoring. Now, there will be plenty of time for you to read over and to digest all these different criteria here. But for our purposes today, what I'd like you to do is try to kind of become familiar with some of the ways to make this, which is very information dense, a little bit more accessible to you and to your students. So one thing that I share with my students right away is that the minimum passing score of a 3 is described as, and if this was a description of you as a person, I'm not sure that you'd take it as flattery, that you're you're ineffectual. As an argument, your argument is not very effectual, but you did reach a new understanding. So that would suggest there's some kind of minimum standard students must reach. And it doesn't seem like it's something academically out of reach for kids, because I'll remind you that in AP research, over 2/3 of people in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, the state of Florida, and globally achieve that level of a 3 or higher. Now, when we look at how many kids can get up to the 4 and the 5, globally it's about 41%. In Florida, it's about 35 in Florida. So we're looking at about 1/3 of the students. So these are pretty much the superstars of AP research. And this is where I suggest that you aim to bring your students to the top tiers over here. So when we go back to our scoring rubric, we see again that the 3 minimum standard is requiring a new understanding. Now, the College Board shares resources, some with all research teachers and some with AP readers. So this year I had access as an AP reader to have that same scoring rubric, but to be divided by color, showing what is it that separates maybe a 1 from a 2 in a colorful way. What separates the 3 from the 4? What separates the 5 from the 4? So again, we've got these same headings here. The ineffectual argument for a new understanding for the 3. The 4, however, is a well-supported, not ineffectual, well-supported, articulate argument conveying a new understanding. So I like to shoot here. I'm not saying I don't want my students to reach the 5s, because every year I have some students that are pretty capable of getting there. But if they get here, this puts them in the top 33% of the country, of the state at least, and almost in the whole world here. So this is helpful for teachers. Again, it just takes a lot of information and it makes it a bit more accessible. And here's another resource I was able to have access to this year, and it's called a decision tree. So this decision tree just has you as the teacher trying to make a decision. Is this paper going to fall in the 1 to 2 criteria? Or will it come on over here? Will it become a 3? So look at that big kind of decider. Does the paper have a replicable research method? So if we want our kids to be in the 3s, the 4s, and the 5s, that's an imperative for us to be able to teach them what does it mean to have a research method and what makes one research method replicable. And what do we mean by a new understanding? And I can tell you that if you don't have data that you collected on your own in a very organic way, then you probably won't be able to reach a new understanding, because the new understanding cannot be reached without your own data. So this too is very helpful to me in having my students understand differences in rubric language. And then finally, what I'd like to share with you is this last resource. I received access to this as an AP reader, and this too I thought was very helpful in kind of drawing the dividing lines between the 1 and the 2, the 2 and the 3. And I've got to point out that I read a lot of papers that scored a 2 that were written by some very obviously very bright students, but it seems like they made the mistake of not learning how to generate their own evidence. So we see that a lot of students with very good intentions, but perhaps with poor instruction from their teachers, made a mistake to adopt a research method that did not lead to student-generated evidence. So again, if we can help our students see the target, there's no reason that they can't hit the bullseye there. But it's imperative on us to share with them what the target looks like.